Not happening. Not happening.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the UMBRAL Blade Falconer guide. A lot of people ask me, why is Heartseeker not in S tier? Why is Heartseeker not valued in max roll? Well, because when you have to compare yourself with builds like this one, it's gonna be tough. This is gonna be one of the best builds of the patch. This was already playable last patch. I first saw this build being played by the Asian community, you know, in Bilibili and Korean YouTubers and Asian YouTubers in general. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. The versions that those people were playing, like Swifty, I think his name is, that's the guy I saw first, they played really squishy. I don't know, again, why, because there's no need to. So I have grabbed the build, I have improved upon it like crazy. It's way more tankier, it's like full dodge, full armor, 4k health, maximum damage. This build is crazy, and you probably have seen the gameplay. It's fast, it has good AoE, it has crazy damage. There's nothing in Rogue that can compare to this, basically. So if you want to play a Rogue and you're looking for the strongest build of the Rogue, and one of the strongest builds of the patch, this is definitely it, okay? Pretty crazy, you feel like you're playing a different game almost. Again, let's go into it. The first thing that we gotta talk about it is like, why are you using the bow? The reason you use the bow is because it has flat critical structures, and you can craft another 10 critical structures. And we are doing throwing damage. We're not doing minion damage, we're not doing melee damage, we're doing throwing damage with our UMBRAL blades, right? So this crit is generic crit chance that works, right? So it's gonna be very hard to get another pair or another weapon choice that gives you 15 flat crit for throwing attack, right? You could go dual wielding, you know, with a Traitor's Tongue or something, but I don't really value that because this item also gives you the cooldown recovery speed every second, 25% cooldown, so you can keep spamming this combo. And as you've seen in the gameplay, it's very spammy, so the cooldown is super valuable. On top of that, the fact that you go for the bow also allows you to go for the quiver, that allows you to have slow for free, which it will be pretty hard to build on the build anyway, and it gives you another damage multiplier to slowed, which you have some of this multiplier in the Falconer tree. Again, some crazy items here. The reason we use Abaddons is just because of the base stats and the plus, you know, the base stats are just so good, and now that legendaries are guaranteed, it's hard to pass on it. Again, let's talk about the build. Let's go. First thing we gotta mention, talking about items. Razor Fall boots are basically 90% of the power of the build. Does that mean you can't play the build without them? No, the build is so powerful that even without Razor Fall boots, it's still OP, right? But the moment you get these boots and you start stacking dexterity, it's gonna go absolutely crazy, okay? Again, very fast, really good AoE, insane burst, super tanky, like defensive layers like out the wazoo. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard to find cons on this build. I guess that you don't really have leech, you kind of like do health on crit because you need Pick of the Mountain to build crit without losing damage. So yeah, and it's cooldown based, I guess. Like again, it's hard to find a con for this one. Explosive traps, we're using explosive traps because you're gonna be applying a lot of hits, and you're gonna be reducing especially your abilities quite a bit. We're scaling UMBRAL blades through dash routes, so this also gives you dash routes, and it's very valuable ability, especially when bossing. When you're mapping, you barely need to press this ability. You can press it again once every few seconds just to proc the cooldown from the bow, and that's it. But when you're bossing and you start spamming this while spamming your cooldowns, these buffs start ramping up, and the cooldown is very noticeable. For aerial assault, why are we using Storm on the Horizon, which is like no longer is a movement skill? The reason you do that is because if you make Smoke Bomb your traversal skill, you reduce the cooldown of Smoke Bomb by 50%. And like I said, this build scales through dash routes. So what you want to be doing is you want to be dashing in with your Smoke Bomb, so you can stay on top of it, because you're going to generate the fog that is going to give you dash routes. That's going to give you more damage. And then from the from the safety of the shadows and the buffs of the shadows, then you cast the aerial assault into whatever destination you want without you ever leaving the shadows and leaving up your buffs. Keep in mind the amount of buffs you're getting through smoke bombs. This is like, again, a buff that stacks every second, you know, and it gives you 20 flat damage per second. You don't want to be leaving your smoke bomb while mapping. You want to make sure that whenever you see an enemy, you know, you dash, and if you see like a hard enemy, you have the ability to stay in the smoke bomb for a couple seconds, get the buff, kill it, and then get on the move again with your next smoke bomb. Again, this will also make the build faster, because you can reduce the cooldown of smoke bomb by doing this, but you cannot further reduce the cooldown of aerial assault any other way. Again, we grab all the nodes to reduce the cooldown just for increasing the DPS. And another thing that I haven't really seen anyone do is grabbing this node here, Shade Wingspan. What it does, it's basically, it creates an additional Blade Storm, a Feather Storm they're called, sorry. And because you're stacking so much dexterity, this will give you a lot of dodge. And what you can do is, like, you can cast this into a boss, and one will appear on the boss, but if you're near the boss, another one will appear next to you. So you can create like a big, these two circles can overlap, giving you a very, very big area where you never drop this buff. And again, you have a lot of dexterity, so this is what allows you to go like to 4k dodge with almost, you know, like zero issues, right? Smoke bomb, like I said, very important to get the shadows. The reason you want the shadows is because you want to be casting dive bomb, and the reason you want to cast dive bomb is so you can get dash routes from shadow falcons. Again, if you cast 3 shadow falcons, that's going to be 9 dash routes every time you dive bomb, right? That's why you want to reduce the cooldown, so you can do it as much as possible. And 9 dash routes, it's going to be 8% damage times 9. So again, you start adding up the numbers of this build, and you understand why we don't go for the Shadow Dagger stuff and we go for the throwing stuff. The amount of multipliers you can get on this build is absurd. Keep in mind that if you do all your full combo and you just sit on your smoke bomb spamming everything on cooldown, you're gonna be getting like maybe 40 dash routes. Again, 40 times 8, it's a lot of damage. The build already has a lot of damage multipliers here. Like, this gets crazy. It just gets crazy. Again, a lot of other utility here, like getting a bit of extra damage, getting movement buffs. You also do that with dive bomb here for the movement speed and haste. Again, there's a lot of things you can do here. I've tested a lot, and by far this is my favorite. And of course, we cannot forget that Twilight Strike is the reason this build works to begin with, right? In combination with the Razor Fall boots. Again, for the passives, for the same reason, we want as much dexterity as possible, so we're gonna be grabbing all the dexterity. It's very important to notice that Razor Fall boots scale on multiples of 20. So if you have 158 strength, it's you're really incentivized to reach 160, right? But if let's just say you have 150 strength, you basically have 10 more dexterity that is not really doing anything for you other than a bit of damage. So again, always keep in mind to your stat page to make sure you're close to 140, 160, 120, 100, right? You don't want to be in those in-betweens. You want to make sure you hit those breakpoints and you invest the remaining the remaining points into something defensive. For example, let's just say that you play this build and you have 143 dexterity. So you could take 3 points of this and put them into Outlander's Tenacity for more tankiness. This is explained in the guide, like I said, so just keep that in mind. For the cooldown, you spam the explosive traps, just for reducing the cooldown of your abilities, because they're Falcon abilities. You generate shadows with Smoke Bomb and dash around with Smoke Bomb, and then you cast Dive Bomb and Aerial Assault on cooldown to, keep spawning Umbral Blades like crazy. Yeah, it's a PoE build, what can I say? Stay inside the Feather Storm while you are doing you're fighting a boss for the defensive buffs. And again, for gear, a lot of like really cool choices that you can get. Again, because you're not building the intelligence or attunement, this is gonna give you a lot of increased damage, right? Because you do a lot of hits, so it's very hard to. This is basically where most of your increased damage is coming from. Don't underestimate this relic, and you can get this with 4 LP. Fairly easy because it's only level legendary potential 20, so really good choice. Razor Fall, really important. You could arguably go for cooldown here instead of movement speed with 1 LP, but I don't know, I like going fast, so I recommend the movement speed. Eventually, ideally, you want to have it also with cooldown recovery. Good luck getting this, but you know, you can try. Again, we use the bow for the flat crit chance. We are stacking dexterity, so we're gonna have red rings, and we want to make sure we have minus throwing attack cost and throwing flat damage. Remember, this is a throwing damage build, so we're gonna be building flat throwing everywhere you can, you know, and belt eventually if you can get it on belt. You're gonna be getting it on relic, you're gonna be getting it on amulet, right? And yeah, it's just gonna be, this build does millions of damage, like 40 million, 50 million, 30 million, depending on your setup and your overlaps and all the craziness. It's crazy. It can't even compare to anything Rogue has. For reference, like the Heartseeker builds have like around between 8 and 12 million DPS, and this one just like can pump up 40, right? So we're talking 4 times the damage and the AoE and everything. So yeah, again, Brewmaster's Buckle, really good item, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward, you know. Make sure you have Razor Fall and keep track of your dexterity. Again, this is a cold build. The reason we go for a cold conversion is actually Husseini's Sphere, because this gives you increased cold and lightning damage. That's why we convert Umbral Blades to cold. It's not just for the chill chance, it's because we can get a lot of increased damage for free with this, okay? Very, 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 very important. And again, it's a throwing build, so anything throwing is welcomed, and anything crit is welcome. And yeah, again, like always, you have the loot filter that you can get with a single click. This build is absolutely crazy. If you're playing softcore especially, I highly recommend playing this season. Sure, it's Sentinel patch, but Sentinels can't really keep up with this speed, right? Until they have really good gear with things like Warpath and things like Erasing Strike. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the build. It's very, very crazy. And yeah, I'm gonna keep scouting the season to see what the Asian community comes up with, because these guys are pretty freaky when it comes to thinking about weird builds. This is a very, 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 very interesting build. And again, the main difference, like I said, is that if you check their planners, normally they run these builds with like 1k health or whatever, and we are running this build on a tanky setup. I min-maxed a lot for that to be the case, and eventually with aspirational gear, you know, you can get really tanky. Like getting this build with 5k health is realistic. So again, while keeping everything that I mentioned before. So again, I thank you guys for watching the video. Have fun with season 2, and let me know, did you like the build? See you on the next one.
South.
Enough of this. Harbingers, entertain my dear sister for a moment.
Traveler, don't worry about me.
Such wasted potential. Orobis would have welcomed you. You fight! See the beauty we were denied! The terror turned her back on us! The gods tore our will apart! They deserve their fate! We treated the world no better! Death is our legacy! The world called to Orobis! This is his answer! What? No!
Not happening. Not happening. Not happening.
Behold, the dawn of the Black Sun.
Not happening.
I shadow will cover this world. Do you think my defeat changes anything? This world is all. You will be forgotten.
Not happening.
The howl of my shadow!